Hey guys, welcome back. So I wanted to make a quick video about my experience at the Atlanta Pet Fair this year. Now this is my third year going. I have also now been to Hershey as well as a smaller show, Safari Groom Expo. But again, this is my third time going to Atlanta Pet Fair. So the first year that I went, I only took 3 classes. I just went for one day because it was kind of last minute and I didn't know that the pet fair was affordable. I thought it would be really, really expensive to go. And when you sign up for as many classes as I do now, it is very expensive to go. So I wasn't completely wrong, but you can go and spend less money than I typically do. So last year I was there all 4 days. I took a ton of classes. I learned a lot. I had a great time. This year, I signed up for a ton of classes, a couple of hands-on that I was really excited about, and then just a couple more random ones. And I will say, like, just to start with the positives, the super styling sessions with Sue Zecco, it was like a hands-on legs 4 ways class. That, I think, was the most helpful class that I took the whole weekend. I really do feel a lot more confident in my scissor work after taking that class. So I think that was a really great class. I also took a class, the hair and skin certificate class. I thought that was a pretty good class. Although I will say there was somebody that told me that they had taken that class, but there was like an hour-long version of it, and they said it was literally the one that I sat in for like 5 hours the other day. They said it was like the same thing, but all said in an hour instead of 5. So if that's the case, then I think that they should do it as an hour, because I just noticed a lot of people were not super interested, and even myself, like, even though I wanted to learn a lot more about hair and skin, I found myself falling asleep during it. So maybe it was the time of day, maybe it was like the corona scare, I don't know, but I just know that it did kind of drag on. So I do think it was an informational class, though. So those were like the main highlights, as well as just being able to go around in Atlanta with Derek and do some fun stuff. That was worth it. But if I knew a little over a week ago what I know now, I would not have gone to Atlanta, and I would have pretty much demanded my money back. I went trusting the people that were coordinating this event. They weren't canceling it, so I assumed that they were checking in on everything, making sure everything was okay, and I'm still going to assume that they did that. But as most of you probably know watching this, the Atlanta Pet Show was canceled on Saturday. While we were all there, we'd already been exposed. The state of Georgia actually shut the convention down. Now, before this event, there was Crufts in the UK, I believe, and they were saying, like, if this had been a week later, or if Crufts had been a week later, they would have just canceled it, and Atlanta was a week later, and despite that they knew that this was already bad, they decided to keep it going anyway. And like a week ago, whenever I went down there, I thought if I didn't go, then I would just be out $500 for classes and like $400 for a hotel. So I was like, I guess I'm just going. And if I had realized they were going to cancel it anyway, then I would have just been like, I'm sorry, I'm not going down there, because not only did I miss out on my classes, and I paid for my boyfriend to get in the trade show and he couldn't go, and I paid for a parking pass that I'm not going to be reimbursed for, I'm sure, because I paid for cash with it, and I doubt they're even looking into the parking passes anyway. So now I ended up losing money anyway, and I had to cancel 2 weeks of clients because I went to this big convention center, like, around a ton of people, and I felt it was irresponsible of me to go to all my clients' houses and potentially expose them to something. I still feel fine at this point. I haven't seen anybody posting that they had coronavirus at the convention center, so as far as I know, maybe none of us were exposed, but maybe we were all exposed, and we just don't know. They're gonna let us know within the next 2 weeks, I guess, what they're planning on doing, how they're planning on refunding us. I'm sure it's gonna be messy, probably a lot messier than it would have been if they would have just canceled the whole thing. It would have been very cut and dry, like, refund everybody. So now it's like this up in the air. God knows what I'm going to get refunded for, if anything. I'll definitely keep you guys updated if I get refunded. And long story short, I am probably not going to be going back to Atlanta Pet Fair next year. I don't know how many more conventions I'm going to keep going to. I want to go to see you guys, and there are a few classes there that I want to take. But honestly, at this point, most of the classes that are not like the hands-on one, I've pretty much already taken. And that is something that has been said to me for like a long, long time. A lot of people have been complaining to me that are more seasoned groomers. They say they can't, there's nothing else for them to really learn in these classes. Like, the classes are very much targeted towards new groomers. And that's fantastic. Like, good for them. But I would say a lot of the people that are going to be at the convention center are not just new groomers. And that's a lot of what I find when I sit in these classes. I'm like, oh, like, you know, I think that's why over the last couple of years I didn't notice as much, because I was a new groomer. And when people were saying, like, oh, it's redundant, I was like, what are you talking about? There's, like, so much to learn and blah, blah, blah. And, like, that's the thing, is they were me, you know, 5 to 10 years ago and taking all these classes, and then they realized, like, oh, this is same shit, different day. And then also, like, because there's no class levels, that, like, the hands-on class I was in, there were some groomers that were, like, way behind the others. There was, like, one girl in there that said she'd never cut hair before. And I don't know that that's helpful to, like, throw us all in one big group when we're all at completely different levels. Like, I feel like there should be a beginner groomer. Like, they should have classes targeted towards beginner groomers, which most of them already are, so throw those in the beginner groomer group, and then make intermediate, and then maybe make classes for people that want to compete. You guys are, like, the fucking grooming world's all about a goddamn competition, but are there any classes on it? Not that I've seen. Has anybody else seen them? I don't know. I'm not into that, so I haven't really looked. But yeah, I'm like, why are there no classes to help these competitors? There's, like, these AKC and all these certifications, right? Or the NGD, whatever the fuck. And you have to, like, know all these, like, breed profiles and blah, blah, blah. And, like, well, I've seen one class that talks about all that. But, you know, maybe a class to help people pass those type of classes would be nice. They could be provided by the people, like, ISCC or whatever. If they're doing a certification course, like, couldn't they have, like, a class there that everybody could take? Something, like, I don't know. It's just, like, I definitely agree. The more I've gone, it very much is targeted to new groomers. And the hands-on classes were exciting. The one I took with Suzeko and Jay Scruggs, he ended up sitting in for the whole class, even though he wasn't really scheduled to be there. It ended up being really cool because, you know, they have, like, good chemistry and they're fun to watch. But that was a really fucking good class, and they need to have that for, like, competitive groomers. Like, why can't you, like, there's mannequins, there's Bichon mannequins, why not do a Bichon class and, like, help everybody, but do it at different levels. So if somebody is brand new to grooming, that is not going to make them feel very comfortable. If you are a brand new groomer, to be in a room full of everybody that has been doing this for years, you know, you're not going to be, like, I'm a lot more confident right now than I would have been 3 years ago if I had been in the same class. I don't know if I would have gathered the same, because I would have been so anxious the whole time that I didn't know as much as all these people around me, and it would just make me nervous. But if they had different levels, like, okay, beginners, groomers, or, like, you know, people that have been grooming 3 years and under, they have a certain class period. Then people that have been grooming 5 to 10 years or 5 to 8 years or whatever you want to do, that'll be, like, the middle intermediate groomers. And then the advanced groomers are maybe 15 years plus, and do a class for them. Like, what are things, because, okay, here's a really fucking good idea. Barkley, World Pet Association, whoever the fuck, if any of you were watching this, here's an idea for you. Okay, so we know, like, Dawn, right? Dawn used to be the thing. Everybody was all about Dawn. So groomers that have been grooming 15 plus years, a lot of them use Dawn. Why not make classes specialized for them to talk about the science and how it's changed, and be like, hey, like, yeah, we remember when it used to be Dawn everything. We get it. We know what you mean. But hey, here's this new science, you know, target it towards each group of groomers, you know? So I think that would be really cool to do a thing like, how grooming has changed over the years or something, and then talk about grooming trends that were from 15, 20 years ago that we don't use anymore, and like, hey, these are the new ones. I definitely think there should be classes targeted for each group. Also, I would love to see a class on clippers. Like, there was one on tools, and it's like, this is a brush, and like, I mean, like, I'm not saying the whole class was like that. I ended up not going. That's how little I cared about that class, and I feel so stupid for signing up for it. But like, make a class about clippers. Like, how do you find a good clipper? Like, when I walk into this trade show, how do I know what's a good clipper and what's not? Like, how do I know what's a good clipper and what's good marketing? Same thing for shears. This was something I was talking to Graham from Fresh Groom about. I was like, you should be teaching about shears, because most of us don't know. If we walk into the trade show, chances are you see something with a big price tag and you're like, it's fancy. But you don't know, like, what makes it fancy. Do you know? Most of the time you don't. And there's, like, really clever ways to, like, get around and make it sound fancy. Like, Graham was saying something about, like, they'll do, like, the Japanese stainless steel and the blades will be that, but then they'll assemble them in China. So they're not, like, full, like, Japanese made shears, for example. Or he was saying there was, like, a company that they called one of their lines of shears Cobalt series, and the shears were not made from cobalt material, but they would be like, here are our cobalt shears. And technically they're not lying, because the whole line is called Cobalt, but they're also not made of cobalt material. So how do you know that? Where do you look? Like, those are classes I would love to see. Something more in-depth on shears, something more in-depth on clippers. I know Corinna, she does some classes more on, like, scientific stuff. I saw the thing she did on bottles a long time ago, like on the shampoo bottles. I think she's really great. We should have more classes on that, on how to properly clean, sanitize, disinfect, all those things. I think that would be a great idea. And like I said, I think the hands-on are a really great start. So have a hands-on class for beginner groomers, have a hands-on class for intermediate groomers, and have a hands-on class for advanced groomers. Show them maybe new trends. Another one for, like, groomers that have been grooming 15 plus years. What if you did something like an Asian fusion class? Because that's not something that was a thing 15, 20 years ago. And they're kind of just being thrown these pictures like, here you go, make an Asian fusion face. And they're like, what do I do? Like, make a class for them. Like, and I know we have, like, Asian fusion classes, but again, like, target it towards advanced groomers. Like, groomers have been grooming 15 plus years, We don't all like to just be mixed together. And sometimes we're going to be. Like, in classes like the skin certification or whatever, we are going to all be thrown in there together. And anything about sanitizing, that's going to be everyone across the board. CPR, everybody across the board. So sometimes there will be crossover. But we're talking about, different levels of hair cutting. Somebody that's just starting is going to be a lot different than somebody who's been doing it for years. So if you're targeting all the classes to somebody that's just starting, it's really boring to us that have been doing it for a while. Like, there was definitely a lot of times, even in the hands-on classes, that I was just sitting there on my phone, just trying to come up with something to do because I was bored, And I don't want to rush the people that are trying to learn, and that makes you feel worse, You're like, this poor person is just trying to learn, and they're feeling rushed by me because I'm done, and then also I'm bored because I'm sitting here done. That's why I think it'd be smart to separate us so we're all about on the same page, getting things done just as quickly, Doesn't that make sense? Is it just me? So anyway, my whole point in this is that I think Atlanta Pet Show or Atlanta Pet Fair or whatever, they're on their way. The hands-on classes are on their way. But I would love to see us separated by our experience because, like I said, there's some classes that I think should just be split. And I don't think that a brand new groomer that's never picked up a pair of shears before should be cutting in the same group as somebody that's been grooming for 10 plus years. Like, that's just too much pressure on both ends. Because, like I said, the ones of us that are finishing early, we feel bad for rushing these people that are trying to learn, and I want them to feel like they're getting their money's worth as well, you know what I mean? So split us up. Why are we all together? Come on. And also, if you hear there's like a crazy disease going around, maybe you just cancel the show like everybody else. Like, I don't know if they just thought like groomers are invincible, we'll be fine. Like, well, there's a lot of like older people there. I saw newborn babies there, like, people are not going to always make responsible decisions. So, like, sometimes you got to make it for us. So cancel the conventions. If there's something crazy going on and if the government's saying don't travel, maybe it'd be a good idea to cancel a convention. If it's being recommended that none of us travel, like, you know what I'm saying? I took the risk because I didn't think I'd get my money back. And now I'm like really regretting it because I just had to cancel 2 weeks worth of work that I probably would not have canceled if I would have been home. I would have given my clients the option, but since I went to that convention, I did give them all the option, and all of them wanted to wait, obviously, because they don't want to be exposed to anything, you know? And I have to say I have a pretty good immune system, so I haven't noticed anything, but that doesn't mean I'm not carrying something that somebody else could catch. So anyway, like I said, I feel like where Atlanta Pet Fair went wrong this year was by even having a pet fair this year. I think it would have been a better idea to just call it off, push it back, whatever they had to do. But I think it may have been an irresponsible decision to let us all go. So I'm sad. You know, I really wanted to have a fantastic time, but I'm not going to lie. I was sitting in class when we all get this email that says, like, hey, we're shutting the convention down at 5 tonight. And I knew it was going to be hectic. So I just, like, I ended up leaving the class a few minutes early, and I just left because I was like, I don't want to get stuck here. My dogs are home. Like, I was like, the last thing I need is for somebody in my hotel to, like, maybe be test positive or something for corona, and then us all be, like, on lockdown in this hotel. I would lose my fucking mind. So, I will be thinking a lot harder for the classes that I sign up in the future, because yeah, there was a lot that I kind of regretted signing up for after I did, and then I only ended up going to like 3 or 4 of the classes that I paid for, and it was just kind of a shit show of a weekend. I'm not gonna lie, it was like a shit show of a weekend. There was no one at this convention, you guys. It was like dead. I just don't get it. I really don't get why they kept it running. It was very strange, but it's over. And anyway, it is what it is. I'm moving on from Atlanta Pet Fair. This is the last time I'm really going to talk about it, because honestly, talking about it is exhausting. Like, I feel exhausted after talking about how stressful that weekend was. So anyway, I'm going to go back to enjoying my 2 weeks off, because I'm going to make the most out of it, even though I did not want to cancel clients for 2 weeks and worry about how I'm going to pay my bills. I had to do what I had to do. So the reality of it is that I'm going to be sitting at my house for the next 2 weeks. So fuck it. I'm going to make some videos. That's why I wanted to talk about this. That's my opinion on Atlanta Pet Fair. I think it's okay, but I think it could be a lot better. And maybe they'll take some of my opinions into account and try something different down the road. Like I said, seeing classes at different levels, do we not agree that would be so much better if you weren't stuck in a class with somebody that's just learning, or vice versa? You were stuck in a class with like all these people that are like way more advanced than you, and now you feel like shit because you're not nearly as like practiced as they are. I want to say it like that because it's not that you're not as good as they are, it's that you don't have the same amount of practice, you haven't been doing it as long, so we should be separated. It just would work better for everybody. It's going to help the self-esteem of people that are just starting out, and it's going to help the people that have been doing it for a long time not sit there bored while the other people are trying to figure it out. That's just my 2 cents. Take it for what it is. I love you guys, and I will see you probably in about 20 minutes whenever I go to film the next one. All right, love you guys. Bye.